So as soon as you start to make more money in your online business, you are going to have to start paying more attention to taxes, accounting, bookkeeping, which sometimes seems like boring stuff that you don't really want to do. It's all that administrative stuff. But what you're going to find is as you grow, the biggest unlock and the biggest lever that you could pull for your overall business's profitability and sustainability are going to come from focusing on these aspects. Now, here's the deal. If you're just starting out, if you're under 6 figures worth of yearly revenue or $150,000 or even $200,000 or less, you're probably still doing your own accounting and bookkeeping and maybe even your tax prep. Maybe you're using something like QuickBooks, manually logging all the transactions or auto-categorizing a few of them. I mean, that's what I did when I first started out. As a copywriter many years ago, I got a simple QuickBooks subscription. It was like 10 or 15 bucks a month, and I would just do all that stuff myself. And it was fine. For early on, that's what I had to do. But the thing is, once you grow past a certain point, once you start making multiple 6 figures or you start approaching 7 figures or beyond, you cannot be doing that stuff anymore. Everyone always talks about, a zone of genius tasks and not doing $10 an hour tasks or $50 an hour tasks or $100 an hour tasks even, so that you could free yourself up as the founder and as the visionary of the business to do $1,000 an hour tasks or $10,000 an hour tasks. Bigger, more important things that only you could do. And this is where finding the right tax, bookkeeping, and accounting team comes into play. Because if you could outsource this successfully and you give it to someone who's an expert, someone who's better at it than you are, that frees up all of your time and mental bandwidth and focus that you could pour back into growing the business while all of that stuff is taken care of. Now, it doesn't seem that important because after all, you've probably been doing this yourself for a while, but what you're going to learn is that when you work with a pro, they are always, every single year, going to save you much more money on your taxes than you are paying them. When I first made the switch to the current team that I'm working with now, I saved about $50,000 on taxes that year because of a few different things that we did. Not only did I save all that money on taxes, but I've been saving money every single year as a result, and I have hours and hours of work every single month that are off my plate, that are completely handled, that I don't have to worry about, I don't even have to think about. And I can sleep better at night knowing that there is a pro doing my books, looking at my tax situation, advising me on what to do, and taking care of all the accounting in the business, and helping me kind of read the tea leaves when I look at the profit and loss statement every year, every single month, and every single quarter, when I look at the balance sheet. So I know where the business is going, if the business is healthy, if it's not healthy, what I have to do to get it back on track. And that is super valuable for me as an operator and as a founder. Now, here's the deal. There's hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of accountants out there. It's like, how do you know who to choose? It's tough. What most people do is they'll go to someone local, and that's okay. It's probably better than doing it yourself. But what I found over the years is that certain firms and certain providers that you go with will have different specialties. What I found is that most typical accountants, great people, but they don't always really get online businesses. They don't get what we do. Whether you're a freelancer or an agency, or you sell digital products or you sell e-commerce, they can do a decent job at it, but to really optimize it to the fullest degree, you want someone who understands online business. You want someone who understands what you do, what you sell, how it works, how it's going to grow. And that is going to help you further optimize your tax situation and also help you optimize your workflow as a founder so you don't have to spend as much time on this. When I found the team that I'm with now, one of the first things they had me do was transfer over to an S Corp, which allowed me to become an employee of my own company. So I started getting a paycheck, and then I was able to take distributions. There's a lot of other tax benefits that came along with that. Even things like taking home office deductions or meal reimbursements or other types of deductions that you might not even know that you are allowed to take, being that you have a business. So like I said, this is something that is going to save you money every single year and every year for the rest of your business. And that's money that you can put into your pocket. That's money that you can reinvest back into the business, let it grow. That's money that you can invest. That's money that you can save for retirement. It adds up to a lot of money. Now, the team that I've been working with for years, since about 2020, is called the Bottom Line CPA.com. I'll have that linked up below if you want to use them. They're awesome. What I love about them, what makes them very different than many other teams that I've talked to over the years, is that they are super proactive instead of being reactive. If you've worked with a basic accountant before, maybe someone local, usually you don't talk to them very often. Usually it's like, hey, we should probably meet at some point to go over your taxes and figure out what you owe. And you can do that yourself, right? Like, there's not really a value add there. But with the Bottom Line CPA, what they do is they are proactive, which means we have meetings. We have multiple meetings every single year. We have meetings with specific agendas, specific purposes. There's year-end tax meetings. There's meetings right before the deadline is due. There's periodic check-ins so we can review the numbers on a quarter-by-quarter basis and look and kind of read the tea leaves together, looking at the balance sheet, looking at the P&L, and optimize things as we go. Everything is also cloud-based with them, which is really, really awesome because I don't have to meet them in person. Everything happens online. I never have to fly anywhere or drive anywhere anywhere. They have access to what they need. I have access to what I need. We could both check the numbers at any given time. So it's super convenient. Working with the Bottom Line CPA, they've helped me automate so much. So many transactions that you probably have in your business are recurring, or there's predictable things, or maybe you have predictable clients or predictable course revenue, things like that. A lot of this can be automatically categorized. So it just happens, right? Like transactions happen, they get logged in your books, they go in the right categories on your P&L, your balance sheet is up to date, and maybe you only need to check a handful of things every single month, and it's done. The more money you make, the more important finance becomes in your business. And when you grow to a certain point, most of what you're actually going to be doing is looking at the numbers. Again, if you're making $80,000 a year in your business, yeah, the numbers are important, obviously. The numbers are important in every business, but there's not as many levers that you could pull. But when you have hundreds of thousands of dollars coming in every single quarter, you have a lot more flexibility for what you can do in terms of tax strategy, in terms of retirement strategy, investing strategy. There's just a whole new world that you probably have no idea even exists about tax optimization and business optimization. Most importantly, it helps you sleep at night, because you know that when the books are good, your business is good, right? And if someone who is a trained pro is looking at that and handling it, and they know what they're doing, and they know it better than you do, that helps you sleep at night. Here's another example of that. When I was only doing client services, I might have 4 or 5 clients in a given month, and maybe there's a check that comes in, and maybe I get a few stripes or a few ACHs, and I could log that stuff myself, because maybe it was $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 worth of revenue spread across 5 or 6 payments. Easy to do. Then once I started selling online courses, coaching programs, books, having funnels, things like that, now all of a sudden there's thousands of transactions every single month. You do not want to be going in and logging thousands of transactions or checking those things line by line every single month. That is called death by 1,000 paper cuts. That is going to kill your productivity. It's going to pull your time and focus and attention and bandwidth away from growing the business, because the tax and the finance and the accounting, a lot of that is operational. And yes, there are very important levers that you could pull, but you want to be sitting in that chair as the founder, as the CEO, as the person overlooking the numbers and the overall strategy of the business, not the person who's manually doing it themselves. So again, I think once you get past $150,000, $200,000 a year, if you sell digital products or services, it makes sense to invest into a rock solid accounting, tax, and bookkeeping team. If you're an e-commerce business, you might be a little bit further along the road. Or maybe you just have a business that's breaking even, or you're pre-revenue, or whatever the case might be. When you start making profit, that's when the stuff becomes super important. So the sooner you get on this stuff and the sooner you get the stuff handled, the more it's going to release you from those roles and responsibilities that are important and someone needs to handle, but that person doesn't have to be you. It's going to give you back that time and that freedom, and you're going to save a lot of money. You're going to save a lot more money working with an accountant than you could doing it yourself. So check out the Bottom Line CPA. That's who I use. I love them. They're my favorite team that I've worked with. There's a link below. Tell them Orzi sent you. Go save yourself some money.